Father,
Can you?
hello, Father. Thomas,
ஆ சொல்லு சனித்து.
ஓகே. என்ன ஃபாதர் போயிட்டாரா?
தெரியலையே.
போயிட்டார் போல.
யூடியூப்ல ஸ்ட்ரீம் ஆக ஆரம்பிச்சிருச்சு.
ஸ்ட்ரீம் ஆச்சா?
Janet, நான் தெரியறேனா?
Yes,
Janet,
Father.
can you hear me? Can you
Yes,
see
Father.
me?
Yes.
I cannot see you. Okay. சரி, இப்போ அந்த ஸ்லைட் ஷோ பிரசன்ட்
Yes,
பண்றேன்.
Father.
ஒரு தடவை
Yeah.
பார்த்துக்கோ. Present now a window. கரெக்டா?
Yeah.
Present a window. Creative.
ஏற்கனவே ஓபன் பண்ணி வச்சிட்டீங்க தானே அதை?
ஆமாப்பா.
Father, நீங்க இதுவா தான் தெரியுது. ஃபுல்லா தெரியலையே. சைட்லயும் ஸ்லைட்ஸ் தெரியுது.
ஆமாப்பா. இன்னும் ஃபுல் ப்ளே ஃப்ரம் ஸ்டார்ட் போடணும்.
கொடுங்க.
போட்டேன்.
Yeah, now okay, Father.
இப்போ அடுத்த ஸ்லைடு வருதுன்னு பாரு. ஓகே.
Gratitude to
ஆமா, கரெக்டா கிளாசிக்ஸ் ஆஃப் லோயோலா காலேஜ்.
Father, யூடியூப்ல ஸ்ட்ரீம் ஆயிட்டு இருக்கு.
இப்போ நான் எப்படி யூடியூப் பார்க்குறேன்? ஒரு நிமிஷம். ஓகே. ஏற்கனவே 5 பேர் இருக்காங்க. 5 பேர்ல Hey, Sunday Church hears me talking in Tamil. Hey, Sunday Church hears me talking in Tamil. Join.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So, creative intelligence for a meaningful existence.
Hmm?
Is there existence in Satyanilayam?
I didn't get you.
Is there existence in Satyanilayam?
Sure. Arul, good evening.
Good evening, Father.
You are ready.
Yes, Father.
Are you?
Are you?
Hmm.
Are you ready, Father?
Whether I'm ready or not, I have to.
Started already the topic.
The presentation was there. Should I take it out and then start presenting, or let it be there?
Uh,
Let me
Robin,
be there, Father. No
Mother,
problem.
doesn't come in.
I can hear you
Join
clearly, Father.
join with the new code அப்படின்ட்டு வருது.
Father, you're already there. You've already come.
Meet.
Father, you are there, Father. You are connected. Switch on your camera, Father.
Camera.
Even you're already
You are
connected.
audible. Yeah. You are connected, Father.
Camera சேர்த்துருங்க.
சொல்லுங்க. ஆ ஆ அதில் டெஸ்க்டாப் ஆடியோவா எங்கே இருக்குன்னு தெரியலையே. இதெல்லாம் செட்டிங்ஸ்லையா? ஆடியோ இல்லை, ஆல்ரெடி அதில் போயிடுச்சு. டெஸ்க்டாப் ஆடியோ டிஃபால்ட்டில் இருக்குது. அதை வந்து டிசேபிள் பண்ணவா? ஓகே டிசேபிள் பண்ணிட்டேன். ஆமாம் நானே ப்ளே பண்ணவா? இது யூடியூப்லேருந்து கூகுள் மீட். ஓகே ம். மியூசிக் ப்ளே பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன். மியூசிக் ப்ளே பண்ணுறேன். யூடியூப்பில் சத்தம் வருதா பாரு. சரி ஜெனி. மியூசிக் ப்ளே பண்ணுறேன் ஜெனித். நிறைய இருக்கா?
Is there existence in Satyanilayam?
Sure.
Dear friends, if you want to see the presentation, kindly pin Father Robin's presentation slide. Kindly pin his screen.
Hello.
Yes, Father.
Father Arul Sivan.
Yes, Father.
Father, could you turn off the mic, Father? Your mic is on. Yes, Father. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. Meeting started.
Father, we'll begin at 6 o'clock. Arul?
Yes, Zenith.
We'll begin at 6 o'clock.
Oh, one more minute.
Yeah, one more minute.
All the best, Robin.
Thank you, Father. Thank you.
Arul?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, shall begin.
Good evening and hearty welcome to everybody. Good evening.
Good evening.
Kindly turn off your mic.
Good evening, Arul.
Yes, good evening. I am glad to meet you all at this digital hall. Thanks for joining. Let us begin this webinar with a short prayer. Let us spend a moment of silence invoking God's blessings.
யூடியூப்ல சத்தம் வருது பாரு.
Dear brothers and sisters, once again a hearty welcome for this webinar. I would like to begin with a popular quote of Buddha. Buddha said, "Desire is the cause of suffering." But today, at this time of COVID-19 pandemic, wherein our usual life is restricted, if we are to add up a statement to suffering, I would say, suffering is the cause of ideas. Suffering is the cause of ideas. Sociologist and philosopher Emily Durkheim says, human beings are naturally pleasure-seeking beings. They desire for happiness and avoid suffering. Therefore, whenever there is suffering, we try to invent something creatively. We try to find out something that will alleviate our suffering. The COVID-19 pandemic in a way is a suffering because most of our external activities are confined, but at the same time, it has led us to think of other alternatives. That's how we have found this digital platform for this webinar. What it implies is that human beings are replete with creative intelligence. This creative intelligence paves way for our meaningful existence. This is the topic, the creative intelligence for meaningful existence, that we are going to deal with here at this webinar. I appreciate and congratulate the Loyola JESUIT webinar team for two reasons. Number one, for having chosen the right topic for this webinar. Secondly, for having chosen the right person for this webinar. The resource person, Dr. S.Seelan, SJ, is a man of creativity in his thinking and a man of fidelity in his mission. A dynamic personality bubbling with zeal and heartiness in all spheres of life. He is a professor of philosophy at S.Seelan, Chennai. Furthermore, he is currently the director of S.Seelan Research Institute of Philosophy and Culture, and he has been a visiting faculty to many centers of philosophy in and around the world. I am sure with his vast knowledge and experience in this particular field, he will enlighten us and enkindle our minds to sail beyond the sunset. A hearty welcome, and over to Father Robin.
Thank you, Arul. Thank you for the kind words. Good evening, friends, and welcome to this presentation. I'd like to begin my presentation with a word of gratitude to Father Rector, Francis Xavier, and to all the scholastics, especially scholastics Zenith, Albinus, Thomas, and Arul for this kind arrangements. Friends, this evening I'm going to talk to you about a very serious topic, but also a pleasant topic: creative intelligence for a meaningful existence. I'd like to begin asking ourselves a question: is life meaningful? It's a very, very hard question to ask, and when you ask this question, is life meaningful, you get lots of answers. You get some people saying it's an unnecessary question, you are too busy to answer, and life has a plenty or life has nothing. For we are creative. And fundamentally, I would like to begin with that premise that you are all creative. There is creativity everywhere. From the ethics, performing arts, visual arts, to the scientific community, physics, chemistry, biology, etc. From sports and leisure to medicine and cost. You find there is from analytic spirituality of the Jains and the Buddhists and other monks to a new age spirituality that we find even today. Yet there is also this that we see. There is human misery and slavery, there is barbarism and fundamentalism, there is violence and indifference, and these thwart real social development and human enhancement. And then we ask this question, is there anything called creativity here? And so there is a cry today. The cry is that we have human vulnerabilities, we have broken families, we have upended governments, jobless people, poverty-stricken communities everywhere. And therefore, my dear friends, we need CQ. CQ is creative intelligence, creative quotient. We need it. We need it not because it is not a panacea. It is not a medicine for all. It's not a remedy for all. But it is a helpful process. And that is the reason why I would like to talk to you today about creative intelligence. My presentation today will have 3 parts. The first part I will present to you about meaningful existence. The second part I will talk about creative. The final one would be an application of creative intelligence for meaningful existence. Now, don't be carried away by creative intelligence thinking that we are going to talk about how to become very successful using creative measures. That is not the intention. The intention is to talk to us, first of all, how meaningful existence needs to be practiced, and once you understand meaningful existence, how we can use creative intelligence. So I would like to begin my first presentation, my first part, by talking to you about meaningful existence. There are 2 things when you talk about life. One is to be, the other one is to do. These are 2 fundamental realities of life, and we have both these together. We try to do and we try to be. To be, which means there is this givenness. You and I did not ask for it, but we were given. Even our very life. Existentialists will use these words quite often, and they will say thrownness. We experience certain thrownness. You are thrown into the world, and you are not chosen this. And to be, there are 2 levels of being. One is the interior being, me being faithful to myself, and exterior, me being faithful to this world and making a commitment to it. And to do, you have a lot of action and activities. I would like to speak to you today about 5 aspects of meaningful existence. And this will be my first part. I'll dwell some time on this 5 aspects of meaningful existence. We can find more, but these are the 5 important aspects that I thought need attention. The first one is well-being. The second one is self-actualization. The third one will be love and altruism. The fourth one will be self-transcendence. And the fifth one is what I shall call as questing and dwelling. Number 1, well-being. Now, there are 8 dimensions of wellness, and these are the ones that I have placed here. We have the emotional dimension, financial dimension, social dimension, spiritual dimension, physical dimension, intellectual dimension, and environmental dimension. Now, when we live a life, we always want to feel well. There's nothing wrong in it, and that is how the first meaning of a life comes with that whole understanding of how am I? Am I well? Am I keeping good health? So that is the first level. And second level is where you then say, I need to actualize my life. I'll come to that. But here in this whole well-being, we have to see: am I well emotionally, financially, socially, spiritually, physically, intellectually, and environmentally? How is my level of well-being? And that is very, very essential in the beginning itself. The second one is the second point in that aspect is to have a balance in life. Definitely, some of us become either workaholics or become lazy. So there needs to be a balance in life: work, diet, leisure, relationships, etc. The second one is about self-actualization. When I talk about self-actualization, I'm going to talk to you about Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This is a very familiar pyramid that all of us have, which was created by Maslow. And you have the top one called self-actualization. Right from the beginning, you have the physiological needs, and then the safety needs, then keeps on building up to the self-actualization need. And when we are talking about the self-actualizing, it is to realize, who am I, and am I completely fulfilled? So there is a need for development, creativity, and growth at this aspect. So one finds a meaningful existence only when he has reached this point. Otherwise, if the person is right in the first level, he would not feel that. And so before Maslow, there was this person called Goldstein, who actually started this, coined this term and self-actualization. And he noted, this is what he says: every living being has an inborn goal to actualize itself as it is. So he says that there is no point in inventing a goal. There is already a goal, and every being wants to actualize. Just to give a simple example, it's like a rose. A rose always wants to become fully blossomed, and that is how a rose bud thinks it has to become. Self-actualization is the complete blossoming of the self. The third point, after we have seen meaningful existence, the first one is well-being, the second one is self-actualization, the third one is now you move out of yourself and what I would like to call as love and altruism. Now, in love and altruism, we have this, there is a need for me to first within myself, then move to family, then to community, then to a nation, then to the entire humanity, and then to the entire global ecosystem. Now, this is the various levels of altruism. What is altruism? Altruism basically doing something selflessly for the sake of the other, and you expect nothing, no reward. And we have this level which is given in this way with caps and italics. This is the way. There is some self-interest, then kin altruism, then is the interaction-based altruism that normally comes with friends, then it's a group, maybe in a classroom or in a community, and then a species, and then it extends to living beings, and then extends to life, and then at the very far end is being altruistic to the entire world. And here two emotions are important to be noted. First emotion is called empathy. That the others are growing and feel happy about their growth. It has nothing to do with myself. It has all to do with. So meaningful existence comes only when I feel others are growing. The fourth stage is self-transcendence. I talked to you initially about Maslow's theory of hierarchy of needs. Now, when Maslow, towards the end of his life, he looked at this hierarchy of needs again and he said, no, this is not sufficient. Self-actualization cannot be the last one. And so he added one more, which is called self-transcendence. Now, that was not published until he died. After he died, this was published. And when he said self-transcendence, he said, after self-actualization, there is still some ego left. And so now I need to transcend, to rise above the self and to relate that which is greater than the self. In simpler terms, it is the realization that you are one small part of a greater whole and you act accordingly. There are three kinds of self-transcendence. This I take from Curl and Fuhrman, and they say the human personality is a mixture of inner processes of regulative systems containing explicit self-regulation system, ego, and internal self-regulation system. From these two, ego and the self, they come with three things. Ego transcendence, that is the first level of self-transcendence, three kinds. The second one is wherein I have the ego and the self. So there is a sort of a thing between inside me, and there is an ego transcendence. Sometimes I tell myself, okay, I can do this, I can come out of this. So that is ego transcendence. For example, I'm hurt, and at some point I say, I will come out of this. So that is where the ego, I'm transcending my own ego. That is the first level, ego transcendence. The second one is the self-transcendence. I come out of myself and I reach out to the other. That is where breaking the barrier between myself and others. The third one is spiritual transcendence. Spiritual transcendence is to overcome the spatio-temporal world. And that is this your last thing's reference. The fifth and the final one is what I call as questioning and dwelling. Now, in Indian philosophy, you will find that there is a concept called sannyasa, which means towards the end, the person moves from the stage, householder stage, and he moves to the third stage, wandering stage. Actually, he is in that stage, which is called the searching, seeking. At sannyasa, he has found. Now, this is where I'm talking about questioning and dwelling. Quest, a spiritual quest, wherein you begin to search, you begin to look forward to something. And then once you have found it, you dwell in it. You will find this, people find some meaning. People find a lot of meaning in being a seeker. And I think that is a very, very important spiritual progress when someone says he is now looking beyond rituals. He's looking beyond the ordinary rituals that religion offers, or even beyond money and wealth and popularity. That is where they even say that the Beatles, the famous band, they went to Rishikesh in search of, they were not happy with what they were doing. They were quite pleased. They had enough money, but still they went in search. Even now you will find people who have left a lot of their wealth and then they go in search. This is because this, I think, is the stage in all our lives, all of us have. Now from here, where do I go? Okay, now this is meaningful existence. I feel people have still some search, especially when it comes to today's context. I would like to now go into the context of today. I just want to give a very quick glance. The first one is there's a presence of extremes. Do you find meaningful existence today? That is my question at this point. And I'm asking myself, are people actually feeling meaningful? Let's see. There is the presence of extremes. There is hope on one side and despair on the other side. And then we have the linear illusion of success. I want to spend some time talking to you about the illusion of success. What it means here is this. People think that I have to climb the ladder. Even in ordinary parlance, we use this word. I need to climb the ladder. Now, climbing the ladder means you have set a sort of a physical goal and you think I'll be successful. Once I reach that point, I'm successful. And then Now, many of our motivational groups, many of our motivational speakers talk to us about this linear illusion of success. But here we have this, what people think success feels like. So there is a top movement, a peak movement, and then afterwards you feel, oh no. So there is a dip. And then again there is a striving, there is a plateau, for some time you go, and then you strive, there is a dip. So that is that is the reality that we have today. A linear illusion of success, which is, unfortunately, many of our educational systems also promote this type of idea that success means you have to reach to a certain point. But then also know, when you come to know that when you
913 subscribers as of the moment, and I hope that you will
innovation,
subscribe if you have
and as
so we can
innovation, the world is completely full with creativity. What the one that you have that you find here is of orange economy. There's a concept called the orange economy, and here you have different kinds of the chart is giving you different kinds of industry that is called creative industry. They also use the word concept called orange economy. And did you all know? I do not know if you have known this. On every April 21st, the United Nations wants us to remember that it is the World Creativity and Innovation Day. Next year, by the way, 2021 is the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development. So this whole idea of creativity is very, very becoming more and more popular. And orange economy, as just now I said, this is orange economy: leisure industries, intellectual property industries, cultural industries. And they say creative economy, it consists of architecture, visual performing arts, crafts, film, etc., etc. Why I'm mentioning this here is today there is a lot of craze or a lot of attention given to orange economy. The next one that we see in the world today is the influence of mass media and new media. Social media is part of new media. What do you mean by new media is simply all the digital digitization, and the one that we had just now having is also new media. Now here I'd like to speak to you something about the spiral of silence. And Elizabeth Noel has this beautiful concept. And what happens in mass media and new media, there is the whole idea of, there is a whole fear. This is my new media. The whole idea of fear of isolation. I'm frightened that others may isolate me, and so what people do is they like to say, okay, I would not like to raise a single rebellion voice for fear of the dominant. And so the opinion expressed as the dominant by mass media is what that gets carried away. And today we know how it is being carried away all over the world, how mass media and new media try to dictate. And what happens is there is a silence that happens. There is a great fear, and that fear is actually interpreted as positively by the mass media and the new media. Then we have the rise of mediocrity. Quite many of you who are here are also you also belong to religious congregations, and you have this constantly being talked to you about that there is mediocrity in our lives. What is mediocrity? Now there are 7 reasons. An author called Seti, he gives the 7 reasons, and I'm not going to read all the 7, but just 1 or 2 I would like to highlight. One is to amplify without accomplishments. Now social media gives you that opportunity. I don't do anything. I just eat an apple and I put it on social media, and then that becomes a great. Oh wow, he's eating an apple. I mean, I don't really deserve that type of attention, but since I want attention, I do it even without much effort. And today you'll find this selfie culture and the social media making things viral for things which actually don't deserve. They become so not a real accomplishment, and you are amplified. So that is one reason why I can become famous without doing much. And so let's do that. Another one that I would like to bring your attention is on number D, the fourth one. Connect without really connecting. Online relationships. So how many friends have you got? Oh, well, I have 2,000 people following me on Facebook and they are all my friends. But are they real friends? I feel happy, and now that will stop me from taking an effort to reaching out to real people in real time and establishing relationships. And I'm happy spending time on social media. Now, there are a lot of reasons, a lot of things that we find how mediocrity has increased. And in our own lives, we find mediocrity. And it can come in terms of your mission, ministries, and it can come in other aspects of life as well. Therefore, having gone through this context, I feel life is not lived out very meaningfully. Therefore, we need a meaningful existence, and we need to become human. We need to live a life beyond competition, beyond consumerism, beyond false paradigms. Now, for this, I feel we need creative intelligence. I finished part one, and now I would like to spend some time talking to you about what is creative intelligence. I said meaningful existence is there. Now I want to share what is creative intelligence and how do we nourish it. The first part I have in my paper. If anyone wants the paper, I can share it with them. If you can send me an email later on. The first, the paper has extensively written about these three persons. I have written creativity as category. I have taken this idea from Guilford, J.P. Guilford. He has written a lot about creativity. He thinks creativity is not a concept, it is a category, which means category means there are a lot of other things involved. The motivation, the expertise, the imagination, the social circumstance, all. And so he likes creativity as category. And then we have Kerry Unsworth, who gives 4 archetypes of creativity. Now, I'm not going to focus on these two, but rather the middle one, Margaret Gordon, she has come up with 3 types of creativity. And so these are 3 things that I would like to share now. When we talk about creativity, someone Arul also introduced me, he's very creative. And normally when we say someone is very creative, what do we mean? We have these 3 things. Number 1, combinational type of creativity, which means you connect different dots which are normally not done. An unusual combination of familiar ideas. For example, you go for cooking. I have never cooked fish in turmeric powder, for example. Now I have the turmeric powder, I have fish, and then I say, wow, let's make a combination. And then you try, let's say, some other dish with milk, I try to do something. So these are unusual combinations. The result may be good. And that is one type of creativity. And I think most of us are on this level of unusual combination of familiar ideas. So you'll find some people are pretty good in decorations, and you don't need this leaf be decoration. And you see, how come I never thought of it? Unusual. But it is an unusual combination of taking a dry twig or a flower and putting it in a vase. So that is an unusual combination of familiar ideas. The second one is one step further, which is called exploratory. Exploratory is, for example, let's say there is a village in Kodaikanal. Yesterday I got a WhatsApp talking about a resort somewhere in Kanyakumari, which suddenly the one who was anchoring, he said, I have never been to this place. I never knew this place is existing even. That is, wow, what a creative venture. So he thinks it's creativity, and it is. You have done. Now, many of our science items will come here. they do a conceptual space. Within a conceptual space, they explore more. So that is the second one. And then the third one is transformational. And here, very rarely people go. And who are these people who go here? Those people who begin to ask questions, very creative questions. For example, let's just take the example of Karl Marx. Karl Marx comes with an idea. He sees the poor people. Till then, people have been poor. He's not the first one to see them. And he comes with this whole idea of historical materialism concept. And you take mental space. They create an entirely new frame. They ask this question, why should this frame be there? So the maximum amount of the type of creativity that can come is what Bowden calls as the transformational type of creativity. Now, many of us are frightened even to question, because we are so comfortable within a particular zone. We are very comfortable within a particular frame. And does it look like postmodernism? Yes and no. It looks like postmodernism because it says, let's explore the outer space within the space. For example, if, let's say, all of us were busy only talking about a particular type of sport. Someone thought, why should I have only a game in the ground? Why not have a game when it rains? How about having a game, something within a concrete space, and they call it basketball? So someone invented this game, but that was exceptionally transformational of sports. Now that is what I would like to focus a little more today in this presentation, that we need to have the third type of creativity, transformational creativity. For what? We need to have this for the sake of a meaningful existence. So I'll come back to that point now. Now, a little more exploration of CQ, what we call as creative intelligence. There are some basic principles, just not many, only a few. The maximum use. Creative intelligence is the maximum use of your intelligence. But it's just not reason-based. Albert Einstein has this beautiful quote. He says, I never made one of my discoveries through the process of rational thinking. Now, reason is very important. And that is the reason why we say, sleep it out. You have a problem, you want to do some problem solving, sleep it out. And we say that is very important. Because if you're going to base only on memory-based academic work, that is only one side of the hemisphere. Roger Sperry's split brain experiments have talked about this. He reveals that there are two hemispheres, and both of them now they say both of them are really connected and through the corpus callosum. Now these are all neuroscientific terms we don't need to know. But all that we need to know is creativity is part of intelligence, and it is more than the normal type of intelligence, namely the IQ that we have, or even the EQ that we have. Suppose, let us imagine we are in a complete mess. We are into a problem. How do we come out of it? If you are going to use only your IQ and your EQ, you will be revolving around the same problem. But we just not talk about transformational creativity. You just come out of it, and that is how we start saying, think out of the box. It is partly reason, but it is also beyond rationality. And so that is one of the reasons why I have not defined creativity. And I cannot define creativity completely. It's a very simple and a complex topic. The second one is the second principle, or the second element in creative intelligence is looking beyond the obvious. To look, we are all trained. Training, unfortunately, has given us this whole idea of looking only at what has been given. But it is obvious, but creative intelligence will say, look beyond the concrete and the structure. And so it will embrace ambiguity. It will engage in a sophisticated, nuanced relationship with complexity. Friends, it's not a very tough topic to understand. What happens is, quite often we think we have to go by the rule book. This is not given. So anything ambiguous, which not concrete, we get jittery about. But here, as creative intelligence, it goes beyond the obvious. It is an exploration of the hidden that is within the structure, but also outside the structure. The third one is a very, very important one. You should learn to say, I don't know. I don't know is an important process in learning. It is also very important in being creative. It will definitely involve trial and error, and it will also help us to become receptive to new information and ideas. Now, if your mind is completely full, and then you say, I know everything, it's a sign of a puffed up ego. And unfortunately, we have some persons, some academicians, also other people who think because they have reached a certain stage, they now know everything. For example, an actor is very good in his field, but what would he know about very much about other fields? Yet we have actors coming and presenting advertisements and saying, "You please buy this. I am watching for it." Well, that calls for a certain that looks like certain arrogant statement. Yet that is all we find. Now, just read this last one. We waste too much energy in the cover-up. It's a conspiracy. We are all works in progress. Yet we all pretend that we are a little more together than we really are. And I'm sure all of us have this experience of having met people and who think they know more than, they present themselves more than actually what they know. The fourth element is curiosity and newness. There is always newness. I don't find that newness because I'm not curious enough. There is a certain tiredness and certain frustration that comes in our lives, especially when you are molded and shaped into one particular type of life. And that is the reason we need constant breaks. Curiosity opens up. It opens to new discoveries and new innovation. Now, the innovative brain, which is the neocortex, can brush away. It has the capacity to brush away the Gattard brain. The Gattard brain is that part of the brain which, as soon as you see an unusually new thing, it says fight or flee. Either you say, okay, let's stand here and fight, or you say, let go away. Now, when you pay attention to new exploration, we become aware of this flight or flee tendencies that comes to us. And we slowly become aware that when there is a non-attachment to self-interest or there is no hidden agenda of an expectant outcome, you really become more and more curious. The next point is empathy. Empathy is conscious decision to step into the other's shoe and look at the world from their perspective. For example, if you want to be really very creative, you don't have to think too much, but you go into the shoes of the other and see, maybe this is how they look. That will give us new insights. While taking a public policy, now, some of the policies that come up are simply not taking people into consideration because the policymakers have not taken the perspective of the people. And therefore, CQ is aware of the need, the space, the worldview of the other. And that is very vital in the process of being creative. 2 parts I have finished. I presented to you meaningful excellence. I presented to you creative intelligence. Now, for the next another few minutes, I will present to you how do you apply this creative intelligence for meaningful existence. So, as I told you right in the beginning, our focus is on both creative intelligence and meaningful existence. So, there are 4 conditions which we have to keep in mind. The first condition is mindsets. When we are talking about creativity, we are talking about mindsets. We are also talking about behaviors. We are also talking about relationships. Relationships with myself, with others, with the society, with ecology, with entire cosmos. And we are also talking about structures. Because all of us are born into structures, we live in structures, we die in structures. I have structured my paper. So you cannot escape structures. But we need to have that all these things, when it comes to meaningful existence and creative intelligence, they need to have written changing mindsets, changing behaviors, changing relationships, and changing structures. And when you do this, you will be able to beautifully blend them into meaningful existence. So let me go On the right side, you find the 5 dimensions that I spoke right in the beginning of my presentation. I talked about well-being, self-actualization, love and altruism, self-transcendence, questioning and dwelling. Now, in order to have this meaningful existence, I am now presenting 5 types of CQ: deep awareness, deep learning, deep love, deep radicality, and deep oneness. Now, again, let me remind you, our level of creativity is not just conforming, just connecting the dots, but it is transformational. It is at that level of transformational creativity that we are talking now. I gave you the example of Karl Marx, but you can take the examples of Nelson Mandela, you can take the examples of Buddha, you can take the example of Jesus, you can take the example of almighty good leaders in the world. They have all done this transformational type of leadership, type of creativity. The 5 dimensions that I'll now explain each one. And when I'm explaining each one, these are practical points that I'm going to give. And the practical tips that I'm going to give will keep in mind these 4 things. So I will present each of the dimensions and talk to you about each one of these. The first one, deep awareness. Now, CQ, when you're applying CQ on meaningful existence, these are the things that you need to have. You need to, first of all, harness the subconscious mind. And so to realize the mindset has to change. How do you change the mindset? If you want to really become more and more creative, if you want to develop your creative intelligence and live a meaningful existence, a meaningful life, your mindset has to change. What do? Number 1, realize the alpha brainwave state and become aware that you're aware. And that is very important. Now, the alpha brainwave comes at the level of, let's say, as you're just getting up from your sleep, or when you're just about to sleep. And 5-10 minutes per sleeping to sleep. You're slipping into sleep in that first stage. And when you're waking up also, consciousness, and at that point changes take place. Now, neuroscientists and psychologists want real change to take place in your life, confirming yourself and recall that particular time, thing that you want to change at these 2 moments. For example, you want to say, I want good health. If you want good health, when you're sleeping, tell yourself, I'm getting healed. And when you're getting up in the morning, say, I'm healed. So this type of subconscious affirmations are very important. And at this point, I want to bring in another concept of what we need to change in our mindset is to move from pessimism to optimism, to move from mediocrity to passion for excellence. Now, again, excellence does not mean success orientation, but excellence just means that the unfolding of the self. The world around us and within us can be seen as threats, or you can see it as compassion, that there are compassionate people all around. It depends. How is the glass? Half empty or half full? And keep believing that you are creative. Now, I have heard this quite a number of times. Many people say, oh, I'm not so creative, I'm not this, I'm not that. No, all of us are creative. It's only a matter of realization, and also become aware of self-labels. I'm not good enough. Quite often we have told ourselves this, I'm not good enough, I'm not capable enough. Changing mindset is important. The second one, behavioral level. Practice relaxation training and regular practice just as you're about to sleep and as you wake up. So let the mind completely relax. Let's not go to bed with a tension. Keep the tension out and then go to bed with complete ease. And when you get up, get the tension back, but get up. Relaxation is very important for CQ and also for a meaningful life that is important. Speak a language of change. Talk good about oneself and a positive language all the time. Relax body and mind every now and then. Now in Japan, they have this office spaces where they have spaces for naps. So, they call it power nap. Power naps are just maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes. You just go in, lie down. You don't go and really have a big long sleep. No, it's just for 15-20 minutes. But then the body is relaxed and the mind is also relaxed. And especially as we are aging, especially as we are keep growing in our age, we need to have this more. The third one, relationships. A joyful relationship within oneself. Keeping on, self-abnegation is okay on the spiritual level, but don't keep on beating yourself again and again, and feeling content with what you are. Yes, I may not be the perfect person, but I'm progressing. And so spending time with oneself and feeling content is important. The inner child is often wounded. Quite often the inner child is wounded, and that gets projected onto others. If you see a person who is hurting, who is shouting at others, it means that person is hurt quite deeply. And so that person needs more help. So a relationship of me with myself is very important. Experiencing chaos is okay. One must still have, this is by Nietzsche. Nietzsche says, one must still have chaos in oneself to be able to give birth to a dancing star. Everything need not be perfect. It can be imperfect, and that is also important. The last one in this first deep awareness is do not kill yourself with overwork or overschedule. Some of us overschedule our programs, we work a lot, and we need to be aware of it. So let us not structure ourselves so much. At the same time, don't become over-relaxed. Do not consider yourself as an institution. And sometimes when we consider ourselves as an institution, we put ourselves in the court every day, and then I punish myself again. The examination of conscience that the religious are supposed to do is not this punishment incentive structure, but it is rather a gentle reminder of the need to become. You are in the process of becoming. The next one, I come to the next one, which I call as deep learning. And deep learning is where I said the self-actualization process. Here you strengthen the knowledgeable base. Almost many writers of creativity agree on this point that expertise is very important. So what is the mindset you need to have? Practice humility all the time. Increase curiosity and keep on connecting the dots. And become aware of self-pity. Oh my God, I was not given this opportunity when I was young. I do not know how to operate WhatsApp. I do not know this. I do not know that. Become aware of self-pity. Get out of that victimhood notion. What is the behavior you need to have? The behavior here you need to have is to do a lot of reading. Wide reading and imaginative thinking. Very often we don't think imaginatively. We have been trained in rote memory. We keep on memorizing mathematical memories, or most of us, when we write exams, we have this rote memory. We just have to just check in and throw it out. Nothing has entered in. But then there's another kind of education which is very important, which is called imaginative thinking. Imagine. It's not daydreaming, but allowing your imagination to go like a child. And then have one domain and work with single-mindedness. And that is the reason people like Michelangelo and others have taken a lot of time to produce one masterpiece. Now, unfortunately, we are in a thing. We think today I do something and tomorrow it has to be fantastic, and we get upset when the product is not good. It is not that. Every now and then we come across people. Imagine that recently the Bihar guy, I forget his name, who built a 3-kilometer canal from the hills to his village. For almost 30 years he built, I think 20 years he built. So he had this imagination, single-minded and complete dedication. So whatever field you are, do that with great passion and single-mindedness. And practice. No one, Beethoven did not become a genius overnight. No one becomes a genius, it takes time. So what you need is practice. Tremendous practice. If you want to become a creative writer, write. Practice writing. If you want to become a good orator, practice oration. Practice is, there is no holiday for practice on something you're passionate about. Along with practice comes patience. The next one is relationships. When in deep learning, relationships, fall in love with books and knowledge base. Friends, all over the globe, reading practices, reading habits have come down tremendously. But it is those people, we are talking about the transformation activity, those people who read are actually transformative. And I know some of us here, some elderly Jesuits are very inspirational because they have been reading a lot. They fall in love with books and knowledge base. Let's not become aware of not feeling happy with shallow reading. Some are very good, very happy reading WhatsApp message. The biggest thing that they are happy. We have read a lot of WhatsApp messages. I'm not belittling them or belittling WhatsApp messages, but I think there is a great wisdom in reading books. And the last one on that level is structures. Learning to create opportunities so that one can get to specialization. Please don't wait for opportunities. Create people are not going to say, okay, I will ask the authorities to give me opportunities. Authorities are authorities. They have a lot of work to do. They're not going to be worried about whether you get an opportunity. You have to find opportunity. If you have not found an opportunity, create opportunity. What is CQ? CQ is basically that. You create opportunity, it's a relearning process. And so again, you go back to that boundless childhood imaginations that you had, where you built castles on the beach, where you built, you had little toys that this food, which is that dish, and you made all these things. How did you come? It was all because of that imagination. And you created opportunities even in childhood to go out and play. We need to do that again. That is how I would think deep learning structures will change. The next one is deep love. I have last three things, and then with that I'll stop. And associate with people who are altruistic. The structure part of it is being regular in volunteering and other altruistic works. Deep radicality is the fourth point, and just last 2 points, radicality. On radicality, I think we have to understand that we have 3 points, and the superconscious mind. And it is that superconscious mind which is the starting place of creative breakthroughs, insights, intuition, inspiration, and imagination. What is the mindset you need to have? Become contemplatives. You need to become highly contemplatives, and transformational thinking begins at that point. You think of new structures, think of new, go beyond the frames and start thinking. That is why I said it's a radical approach. Radically being creative means thinking out of the frames. Be independently minded. Now that is very, very difficult for us because quite often we are prejudiced. And I would say even be prepared to be wrong. The behaviors that we need to have is conscious efforts to think. Consciously, you take at least once in a week or something, take conscious effort to break out of the frames and think out of the box. Practice free thinking and mind wandering. Some people will think, oh, this is not practical. It's okay. It may not be practical, but you just simply allow your mind to wander and do free thinking. And relate with oneself and others with a great inner freedom. And a leaning towards mysticism is what I would think is in this section on relationships. My last point on last point is on experiencing oneness. You remember I talked to you about that, the last point in my first slide, the slide wherein I was talking about the idea of becoming a seeker, a dweller. And that comes only, and to that level, it can take this concept of HIT. Now, HIT is a concept much spoken by many people, but Duns Scotus, a Franciscan monk and a philosopher, has spoken this. HIT means to go to the core, or what you call as whatness or thatness, and then look at the thing in themselves. So the mindset that you need to have is to have a mindset of looking for the core of life. So the core in life, in oneself and in the cosmos. And the behavior that you need to have is a compassion and a union with all that is in nature. Considering every reality as part of oneself and considering oneself as part of every reality is very important here. Considering the creator is as a creative genius, the creator is a creative genius, and that is how at this point we become deep oneness, relating yourself with God, considering yourself as one with others, one with God. And the last one here is to free yourself of all ego, of all external structures, all discipline. Because you don't, once you are one with God, one with nature, you don't need this external discipline anymore. That is how. I just want to conclude this entire thing. Creativity, what did we do now till now? We just saw how meaningful existence can be made more meaningful with the help of CQ, that is creative intelligence. And as I want to conclude, I want to ask this question. Can you define creativity? It's not very easy. It is simple and it is complex. But it is a movement. Creative intelligence is a movement from creating to discovering, from opportunity for achievement to opportunity for oneness. Sorry, from opportunity for achievement to opportunity for oneness, from empty fame to deeper meaning. It moves the person who is a seeker to be a person of creative fidelity to his own inner urgings rather than just blind loyalty to a set of rules. CQ bids us to live our lives more creatively, but at a deeper, meaningful way. It is not a problem-solving tool, but it's a transformational means that leads one from well-being to an ultimate union with consciousness. To end where I began. Is life meaningful? Yes, it is. When lived with creative intelligence, looking forward to a meaningful existence, then life becomes meaningful. Thank you, friends.
Dear Father Robin, thanks for the wonderful presentation. Now the digital floor is open to the participants. If you have some queries or doubts or clarifications, or if you would like to add something, you are most welcome to do so. Open to all. Already a few questions are posted on the chat box. Father Robin can answer one by one. I will read out. Who invented creative intelligence? It's the first question. Is creative intelligence is equal to artificial intelligence? Idealization is accepted in today's context. These are the questions. You could answer one by one or...
Who invented creative intelligence? I'll just read the questions here. Is it okay, Alex?
Yes, Father. Who invented creative intelligence?
No one invented. Creative intelligence is not it's like asking who created YouTube. It's not anyone. Creative intelligence is part and parcel of our life.
Yes.
Everyone has invented intelligence. It is there within us. Yes. The second question, is creative intelligence equal to artificial intelligence? No. Artificial intelligence, that is what we put something on machines. Creative intelligence is, again, as I said, is natural to me. It's natural to me. It is not part artificial. With creativity, we have artificial intelligence. But both of them are not the same. Because at no point, at least to the present scenario, I don't think artificial intelligence can have the empathy, solidarity, fraternity that we have.
Yes, Father. Thank you.
It's just a network connection. Hello?
Yes, Father. The second
Hello,
question.
Father.
Are you able to hear me? Are you able to hear me? Hello?
Yes, Father. You are heard. Father, you could answer the second question. Is creative intelligence equal to artificial intelligence? I think he has lost the connection. We'll get back.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, yes, Father.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Father, your voice breaks.
Problem with my problem. There's a. Can you hear me? Are we there? Hello.
Yes, Father, we are here. You are heard. The second question is creative intelligence equal to artificial intelligence?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Father, you can carry on. Just you look at the chat box and you
Okay.
can answer the questions.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, Father, you can carry on.
Yeah, yes, Father. You.
Okay. All that was in the chat has disappeared. Can you repeat the questions?
Is creative intelligence equal to artificial intelligence?
There was a break here.
Is creative intelligence equal
Creative
to
intelligence is not equal to. The answer is no. Creative intelligence is not the same as artificial intelligence. The first reason is artificial intelligence was created by creative intelligence. We did that. And so artificial intelligence and creative intelligence cannot be the same. Can you hear me?
Yes, Father.
Am I audible?
Yeah.
Okay. So artificial intelligence was created by us. It cannot be the same because whatever programming has been done on artificial intelligence, of course, today now with more and more advancements, artificial intelligence is trying to replace human intelligence. Nevertheless, it can never come to this aspect of being generative. It cannot be generative. It cannot help in my solidarity with my fellow men. It cannot help me with my emotional intelligence. And so it is not possible for AI to be the same as CQ. Arun, next question.
Next question. Deep awareness creates over-consciousness and suspect everything. How to overcome this part?
I do not understand what is over-consciousness. Is there something called over-consciousness?
Maybe too much of a conscious.
No, it doesn't actually create, because once you become aware of it, I think many people have this fear of looking into themselves or looking deep into problems, because we feel it is like a wound on your hand. What we try to do, unless the doctor really goes to the root of it, you get frightened. You know, as little boys, we all had wounds in our legs and hands. When we go to the doctor, we don't allow them to touch. Oh, it's painful, don't touch. But unless they touch it, it will not be able to heal. So the person who is asking this question, I think the person is not willing to revisit the wounds that he or she has, And I think that is the reason they say this is over consciousness, let me not go to the root of the matter. No, I think if wounds have to be healed, there are methods of getting into it without hurting yourself again. Arun?
How to overcome pessimism? How to overcome pessimism in our life? Yes, Father.
Arun?
Do you hear me?
Please come again.
How to overcome pessimism?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
How to overcome pessimism?
Okay, I'll give you this example of a very simple example. How do you wash an ink bottle? You know, we all used to use the ink bottle. Some of us still use. How do you wash an ink bottle? An ink bottle, all that you need to do is take the ink bottle, take it under a tap of running water and keep it. The running water will go inside and cleanse it up. This example is the same. You have negativities, which is like the ink bottle. In the ink bottle, you can remove it by putting fresh water, positivity. So when you are very pessimistic, take an extra effort to become positive. Use a positive language all the time. Become conscious that you are saying negative language, and try to replace it with a positive language. It is basically the belief system that has to change. The belief system that I am no good has to be consciously, repeatedly, consistently poured like this water into the water bottle, into the ink pot. Arul?
Arul, please unmute. Arul, please unmute.
Can creative intelligence improve self-motivation?
Can creative intelligence improve self-motivation? Is the other way about. It is the other way about. Self-motivation can improve creative intelligence. So the question should be, can self-motivation improve creative intelligence? Yes. So when you know your passion is going down, then you become aware of it, that your passion is going down, find out reasons, and once again fill it with greater passion. So all that you need to do is use creative ideas to refuel yourself. That way you can do self-motivation. It's very, very much possible. So you devise ideas. For example, whenever I get to very much down, depressed, or feeling low, then I said, what am I going to do? So I put a sort of a reminder on my door, and then I say, okay, let's become positive, become good, be gratitude. So there are simple ways. That is another creative way of going. For example, which is the place which you visit very often? Definitely the mirror. So on the mirror, write with a marker a motivational sentence, an inspirational quote, or a quote from your scripture. That will definitely be more helpful. And so that way you can keep on rebuilding yourself, refueling your passions. Thank you.
Further questions are over on the chat box. Now,
okay,
the participants can ask questions. One more question on the chat box.
Thank you so much, Father. Father, good evening. Father Robin.
Good evening.
Father, the next question is, could you please explain the notion of spiral of silence? I understand what is spiral of violence by Elder Kamara, the oppressed becoming oppressor, and it goes on in a spiral way. How about spiral of silence? Is it similar to that of Elder Kamara's notion of spiral?
No, this is very, yeah, I saw that. It is very different. This concept of spiral of silence is from our Noel Elizabeth. Now, what she says is, when you see the mass media creates so much of sound around, so much of noise around, And so, let's say drinking milk is good, and I'm saying drinking milk is bad. I'm just giving a very silly example. I don't want to touch any political ideas at this point. So I'm just giving you. So let's say the whole media starts saying drinking milk is good, drinking milk is good. This is the public opinion. We do not know how many public actually said. But then I become silent, lest I speak anything bad and others would feel bad. So I become silent. Similarly, everyone feels if they speak out, they'll be isolated. So there's a fear of isolation. Now that fear of isolation is what we now do. The fear of isolation is what causes the silence to become a spiral of silence. Am I answering you, Clement?
My question is how it becomes spiral. In the concept of held camera, it's very easy to understand, because the oppressor becomes the oppressed, and then the oppressed becomes the oppressor, and it goes on, the spiral goes on. But here the question is how it becomes spiral in terms of silencing.
Because it's very simple to understand, Clement. The whole idea of the media, first of all, media silences you, okay? That's one thing. The second one is when 2-3 groups are speaking, then I feel very frightened to speak. Similarly, this one person becomes 10 persons, and 10 become 100, and everyone thinks in the same way. All the persons begin thinking, media is saying, and therefore it may be right. So the media sound becomes louder and louder, and my voice becomes thinner and thinner, and I keep silent. Now, when I'm saying this I is hundreds and thousands of people who then join the gang of this fear of isolation. Arul?
Father, the next question is, Daniel Goleman used first the concept emotional intelligence. Similarly, who used the concept creative intelligence?
Actually, there are many persons who have used this concept. As I talked to you about Bowden, Margaret Bowden, she has used this concept. But who used the concept first, I honestly do not know. I do not know. Maybe I'll have to do research and find out who did first.
Based on my reading, Father, I found a Robert Sternberg who used the term first. Okay, we'll go to the next question, Father. How can we balance between? How can we have a balance between to be and to do? To be and to do.
It depends on each person. Yeah, there is no, again, you are asking for a frame. That is the whole problem with many of us. We would like to have do's and don'ts, and we want to say, tell us how to do and how to be. Again, each one has to figure out each one's life. For example, if you are a housewife, homemaker, then your way of being is different from doing. You may have more work. So how do you find a balance? I think each one has to find what your heart urgings, inner urgings are, and you'll have to also find out what your commitments are. Nevertheless, do only so much as you can, and as much as your heart feels content. Don't overdo. Don't burn yourself physically to the level that you get emotionally burned out as well. That is my answer.
Any last two questions?
Father, good evening,
Yeah.
Father.
Good
Only
evening.
one question. And in
Yes.
today's 21st century, very competitive world, when you mentioned about the mystic or mysticism, there's a big question mark over there, Father. So can you enlighten us in that thinking, mystic way?
Right. The question that you asked was this huge competitive world, right? Did you use that word?
Yes, Yes, I
Yeah.
used that
Yeah.
because of this artificial intelligence coming to disturb our imagination, surely. That is threatening. And the spirituality also. Yes.
Right. First of all, is there a competitive world? Now, that is a big question that we need to really answer. Or are we imagining that there is a competitive world? Isn't that an artificial creation that we are now saying it's all an artificial? We are now saying it is a competitive world. I think we have been using this word quite too often, and we have said it is competitive. It is competitive.
Correct.
Should
Yes.
that be considered as a competition? So I think that's the first question. The second part of it is you said artificial intelligence has come as a danger to our spirituality. Uh, yes, it is a danger. It is a danger only when I'm not aware of it. Once I know the good elements and the bad elements of it, and then when I become emotionally mature, and I know how to keep it far. And so my my answer to your question is that we need to reframe our thought about our world. And by the way, mysticism is not something that you have to go into the forest and you have to be devoid of everything. That is not mysticism. That's one aspect of mysticism. Mysticism is to remain detached in everyday life and be attached to a transcendental reality.
Okay.
So that is all. So mysticism is actually not very. It's not only for the religious people and only for the wise and the elderly. No, ordinary people can also practice mysticism.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Father. God bless you.
Hi, Father. I have
Thank
one
you.
more question.
Yes.
Father, I hear many things, that words from you. That is loving the nature, loving ourselves. When I'm hearing that words from you, I feel like you have faced some problems and then you have solutions for that, and you came up very strong from that, so that you want to share all the things to us. This is not an easy job for all of us, so we will not normally do this. So if you are doing this means you have faced and you have challenged by something, and you have also win that situation, right? So I would like to hear what you have faced and how you overcome from that, so that it will be helpful for us to overcome from our struggles also. So when you are teaching us as a theory, we understood, but when you tell us how you overcome and you share your experience, it will be very helpful for us.
Okay. Just to give you a quick example of self-acceptance. Okay. So I have been struggling. I struggled initially in my years about self-acceptance, accepting certain reality of our lives, of my life, and then with the help of the spiritual father, the help of the spiritual director, I was able to come out of it. So when I'm saying now that I don't need to say I'm not good enough, it comes from an experience. So it's a process. It doesn't come overnight. You know, when you are very young, you like to like people to accept you. You like people to go along with you, and then it then doesn't happen. You feel bad. So all these things, like any other teenager and any other young adolescent, I also had all these troubles as I grew up. Now, today, if I'm saying this, it is definitely sure. I have gone through an experience. But we have also listened to several others in the course of our life here. Does that help you?
Okay, Father.
Dear fathers,
Thank you.
brothers, and sisters, I am sure we will have many questions, but due to time constraint, we would like to wrap up this webinar. In case you have doubts, we can contact Father and get clarifications.
Yes. Are we
So-
getting certificate, Father, for this program? Hello?
What is that? What is that?
Are we going to get e-certificate for this particular program?
Arul, you have to answer.
No,
No, there is no e-certificate for this webinar because it's a program for improving our knowledge on particular area. So it's
Thank
a
you.
help for participants. So there is no
Oh,
certificate as such. Thank you very much.
thank you so much for that. God bless you.
Yeah. Thank you. So on behalf of the organizers and all the participants, I would like to extend my sincere thanks to Father Robin S.Seelan for the creative and meaningful presentation on the topic, the creative intelligence for meaningful existence. Thank you, Father Robin. I am glad to thank all the participants. There were 65 participants. It's a good number. And special thanks to a group of students and a group of sisters for your active participation. I appreciate and thank Father Francis Xavier, the rector of Loyola College, Father Justin Prabhu, the minister, and scholastics Zenith, Albinus, Thomas, and Xavier for organizing this series of webinars. Thank you, one and all. Have a good time. Thank you.
Thank you, Arul, and thanks, Father Francis. Thank you.